Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Podriplegics podcast. We have today a very special guest. He is a longtime advocate for accessibility, the strong, the powerful, the retired Army Staff Sergeant, Mr. Gordon Moye. But before we get to Gordon, I always got to go through these housekeeping items. First of all, we would like to thank the Arizona Spinal Cord Injury Association for all you do for us. Their website is azspinal.org. You can call them at 602-507-4209. This podcast can be found on YouTube, azspinal.org/podcast, Facebook, and the Arizona Spinal Cord Injury Friends group, Spotify, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. Don, Eric, Laronda, and myself have 100 plus years of living with disabilities. We are not medical professionals, so if you are having medical issues, please contact your doctor. There will probably be mature language and content, mostly from Laronda and Eric, not myself. And like we said before, we are not medical professionals, so do not sue us. If you sue anybody, like always, sue Eric.
Wait a minute. Last time we included everyone.
Yeah, this time it's just you. We're back to you. You got all the money. Today's special guest, Mr. Gordon Moye. Gordon, thanks for being here. I'll start off with the same thing we kind of talk to everybody about. What is your disability and how you became disabled? Were you born with it? Was it an accident?
Okay. My name is Gordon Moye, as was said. My injury is a T12L1. I'm a para, and that happened in '86. It was a training accident. Nothing dramatic. It was just a real bad day, a bad driving day, and the vehicle flipped. And from that point on, it was trying to figure out the spinal cord injury stuff, and a great help was the Paralyzed Veterans of America. I lost my concentration there for a minute. I'm sorry. And I've been with them ever since. I had a service officer come in. That's why I got interested in being a service officer. I had just got back up to Boston, and he came into my room, and I had no idea who he was. He says, "I'm from the Paralyzed Veterans of America." And not being paralyzed, it's like, okay, who are you and what are you going to do for me? Because right about now, I need help. And he told me not to worry about it. And to this point, it's been true. I had not have to worry about equipment or anything else. And that sort of led me to getting involved with the organization. And plus, they were paying me, which is always a wonderful thing. I'm a volunteer basically now, but I worked for about 2 years as a service officer, another 2-3 years as a associate director of sports. That's where I learned about quad rugby, kind of on the job with the organization. I put on the first quad rugby clinics. I don't know if you played, you're probably too young to have heard even about some of those quad rugby clinics, but I put on about 6 or 7 of them in different parts of the country, to include Puerto Rico. And been doing that, moved out here. I wanted to stay as a sports director, but I was told I couldn't work from home. Now everyone's working from home. So
isn't that interesting how that works?
Crazy how that works. So I took retirement. I mean, I'm 67 years old, so it was time. I had always told myself, either I'm not working until I die. Not happening. So I've been out here for about 20 years. I'm married. I have a daughter from my first marriage, and a son with my wife here, which is, well, he's my son.
The service officer, I wanted to ask you a quick question about that. Do you think are all the vets, are they aware of service officers? Are they, is it seems like I didn't know about service officers till I started volunteering for the vet center.
There, most guys get out of the military and they're not told anything like that. I mean, I wasn't told anything about the VA or what I was entitled to or anything. And that's where service officers came in. He came in and told me, hey, you're entitled to this, you're entitled to that. And most guys don't know. They let you go. They prepare you for one thing in the military, and we all know what that is. And they don't really prepare you to get out.
They prepare you to stay in and do your job is what they do. Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
And we all know what that job is. So we don't need to expound on that.
Oh, you said you've been injured since 86,
Yes.
86.
Yeah.
And so you've been working for the PVA since then?
I've been working with the PVA I worked with them. Well, I'm with them now, and I've always been with the PVA in some capacity since 87. I got hurt in June of 86 and started as a service officer early in 87 and worked until I guess 95. My wife and I moved out here. They told me I couldn't work out here, which I could, but politics is politics. And I retired, got into horses with my cousin. He's still in it, but it was really too much like work. So I did that with him for 4 or 5 years. Once I reached my 55, that was my cutoff. I don't work for no one after 55 unless it's myself. And knock on wood, I've been able to keep that promise to myself.
One thing that I'm always having to inform people about that I wanted to just bring up with you is, PVA, they're Paralyzed Veterans of America, but they don't just serve veterans.
So that is part of what the old guys and the new guys have been fighting back and forth. We do now, our service officers will advocate for non-paraplegics or non-spinal cord injury or dysfunction, where they advocate for MS and ALS. But as far as benefits go, you can speak to any one of our service officers and talk to them about your benefits. You don't necessarily have to be a spinal cord injury. But the name has been around since 1946, so it's kind of hard to change that. We've changed our logo several times, but the name, they're not going to give up the name.
Well, one of the things that I've also heard is that, you guys get donations of chairs and walkers and a lot of different medical equipment. And I don't think people realize that you guys are willing to give that to civilians, not just veterans.
Anyone that comes in, veterans come in. We have a full prosthetic locker. We have power chairs, anything from, you name it, bandages right up to power chairs. We have it. We have hospital beds, and again, vets come in if they need it. They pick out what they want, and we make sure they get it. We make sure it's serviceable, and we ask for donations from non-service members, but it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory. We just gave away a car, an accessible van.
Did you say a car?
An accessible van. Yeah. Well, our members get these things. Okay, like we get equipment all the time, and like all the equipment that I have, when it's my time, I'm going to donate all of that back to the PVA, and that's what happens.
Yep.
And our goal is to make a better life. It does not matter if you're military or not. I mean, you have a disability and you need it and we can help. We will, no doubt.
On that note, one of the things that I was going to talk to you about is being there for that long. I mean, I can't imagine how many lives you've impacted yourself. Um, I can imagine that it's a very rewarding position for you, as somebody who's been through it, as well as being able to help somebody.
It is to see people come in and like like we all were when we're first injured. It's like, what in the world am I going to do? And
Yeah.
to help folks travel through that, to me, is very rewarding. And to see the look on people's face, especially non-veterans. Veterans are they're spoiled, and we spoil them because we've advocated for them. A veteran can come into the VA and they have a spinal cord injury. They're automatically going to get 2 chairs, and any sports chair that they want, they're going to get that. And
Yeah.
if you're hurt on duty, I will admit you get a nice sum of money where you're not going to be able to travel and have 14, 15 cars. You still have to work, but you won't go hungry. That's for sure. That's for sure.
So what? I mean, look, I'm a civilian. I've never had any really family that has anything to do with the military. So when I hear a lot of people talk about problems with the VA and all these different, complaints, how difficult it is to get some things. I mean, is this primarily because it's people who are fully disabled, or, I mean, I guess maybe you can help me work around that.
The VA has a point system, and it depends on your percentage of your disability on what you're entitled to. Um, you can only go, like, my disability on paperwork is 120%. Well, that's ridiculous. They're only going to pay you to 100%. And most guys with spinal cord injury, they get 100% and a lot more. The PVA, we don't take enough credit for what it is we do. I'm not going to come down on Wounded Warriors because it's a great program. Being a director of sports, I'm an advocate of guys getting out no matter what it is. If it's no more than just go sit by the lake and pretend to be fishing out here, that's all you do is pretend to fish.
Oh, I saw fish, and we went on a biking path just the other day. There's fish in there.
There's fish. I see them all the time. It's a little aggravating to see them jumping, but they're not jumping on my hook.
Right. What do you got to do to get them?
But to get back to your question, it is rewarding to see people. I mean, to run into a person. I went to a rehab center out here in Tempe, and the woman came in and she lived on a ranch, and her chair must have been 100 years old. The foot pedals were gone. They had taken 2x4s and used those to replace the foot pedals and all. And I said to her, I didn't know her. I gave her my card and I says, take this card, go to the office and tell them that I sent you, and I guarantee you they'll give you a better chair. They don't want to believe it, but that's the way that works. It's exactly the way our prosthetic locker works. And anyone can go in there. I mean, you think about what it is you might need, there's probably a possibility that we have it and we turn it over. 95% of everything that we take in goes back out. You can check Better Business on that.
No,
That's an awesome program for sure. Go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, Gordon, I know the Arizona Spinal Cord Injury, they do have a program similar to that where they get donations, but I don't think it's near the scope of what you guys do. We have had vehicles donated in the past, but that's not very often. And chairs and power chairs, but again, it's sporadic. Maybe we'll get one or two a month, but
At one at one time we had 15 power chairs. So it's like,
oh wow.
and we're moving into a new building. We're closing down. We sold our building, but we signed a 2-month lease because of the city of Phoenix. But I don't know if you know, we bought the old spina bifida building, and that's going to be our new home. And we're still kind of working out. Our prosthetics we're trying to give it away. We've got hospitals and other therapists coming in and taking stuff. I mean, even while I was seeing a visiting nurse, I was giving her equipment so that she could help service some of her other clients who have insurance.
And there are people
at that, because insurance is that's a hit or miss proposition right there.
You're not kidding there.
But I don't know. Ask me more.
So if somebody wanted to donate, and say maybe they didn't necessarily live in Phoenix, but if they were in Phoenix, where could they take it to donate something?
Well, our national website is pva.org. But if you want to donate to a particular chapter, not necessarily the Arizona chapter, I would suggest that you donate directly to the chapter as opposed to national. As you all know, when the money comes into national, they disperse it the way they want. And a lot of times it's not fair.
Oh, it doesn't reach everyone equally.
No. And like I said, here in Arizona, we are one of the few chapters where, again, 95% of what we bring in goes back out into the community. So we got a bunch of guys that are serious about it, but the problem is we're all getting old. And like I said, I'm 67. Our board is getting old. We have a hard time recruiting these new vets. They're all running to Wounded Warriors. And again, Wounded Warriors and other organizations, even the Arizona Spinal Cord Association. Paul Mortensen started it, but he started it with the help of myself and Peter Quinn. I was working with his daughter, but she has passed away. So many people can't take the life that we live, and she was one of them. She pretty much just gave up. It's not a picnic. I wouldn't want my worst enemy to deal with it, but there are programs out there where you can be as active as you want. I mean,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that that's one of the reasons why we started this whole thing, and one of the reasons why we bring people like you on is because we understand how difficult this can be on somebody. And I remember when 30 years ago or 20 years ago, 20 years ago, sorry, I'm dating myself a little too much. 20 years ago, when I got my accident, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't necessarily have anybody there to guide me through what some of the issues that I was going to happen or we're going to foresee in my life. And that's kind of why we're doing it, is to be honest with everybody, as well as to inspire them and show them there are other ways to make it through.
Make it through.
Yeah. And you're right.
Never give up, never quit. It's that simple.
Yep. And you can always find a way to make it work. If you just, there's always a way to make it work. And it may not
that
ideal.
same concept that you said, Shawn, the same concept is how the PVA got started. We got started in 1946 because the average time for someone to live with a spinal cord injury when they came back from World War II was less than 9 months. The majority, they knew nothing they knew nothing of bed sores, no idea about turning people, so they didn't know what to do. And the PVA got together, and the whole idea is to give people information, show them how to live, show them sports, and we work with research and development. I mean, we're one of the major sponsors of the Yale Project, if any of you know what that is. And we're one of the major sponsors. We have people sitting on the board. They're looking for a cure for spinal cord injuries, basically. That's just the basics of it all.
So are they working with who's the Tesla maker guy? What's his name?
Oh, I don't know. I have to ask my son about that. He's
Elon Musk
for his cars.
Well, Elon Musk is doing all kinds of research on combining electrical sensors with connecting up the nerves, and he's been stated on record. He's like, in the next couple of years, we're going to find a way to make this work. So, I mean, I forget, was it 5 years or something like that? But he made a pretty.
Said 3 to 5.
3 to 5. I mean, that's a pretty bold statement.
Okay, well,
he's
putting people up in space a lot quicker than the federal government is. So
that's true. That's true.
And he's put it past him.
He's able to. Yeah, I mean, the landings that he can make with his rockets are amazing. You know, the guy's good.
So I wanted to let's reel it back in for a second.
Sorry about that.
I wanted to talk to you about, now you said that you have helped start up the Arizona Spinal Cord Injury Association, and you've also been an advocate since '87. What are some of the major differences that you can see that are beneficial to people with disabilities now, as opposed to maybe when you started or halfway through?
I have a bunch of friends who in Denver, they were chaining themselves in their wheelchairs to buses because they wanted curb cuts. It started with curb cuts and as far as spreading out, but as far as the PVA, we've been at this. Basketball would not be taking place. The VA hospitals started basketball, and the guys started traveling from one VA. The major VAs back then was in New York and Illinois, and so they used to have competitions in between. And one week they were there, and they put together some bylaws and so on and so forth. And the PVA has been working tirelessly since then. I mean, we advocate. Well, we're on the board of things. I was on the board for the building of the arena downtown that the Suns play on. They had two people. Matter of fact, the chairman of the board was in a chair. I mean, he now has since passed also. But it was that back then, no one cared. No one cared. And the housing for grants or spinal cord injury service guys went from 38,000 to 100,000, and that's because of our advocacy up in Washington, D.C. We're up there every year, and we have guys up there every day that they're open. We have guys up there working for a lot of service organizations. They don't do the training that we do. They're not as good as we are. And I mean that, and I'm not being facetious. They're not as good at what we do as we are. A lot of the innovations that have taken place with equipment and all of that, We're at the forefront of all of that. You need to go to our website and check us out, pva.org.
I'm definitely going to.
And
You know,
then,
and then one last question on this subject. When you think about the Americans with Disabilities Act, what is one part of that that you wish you could snap your fingers and change right now?
that's a question I can't answer. And snap my fingers.
That's a tough one. Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Well,
What
Shawn,
about historical buildings being able to be exempt from having, access, like things like
oh
that,
yeah, historical, yeah.
or bathroom stalls, what they say are accessible aren't necessarily accessible for every chair. I mean, some of those kind of things. This is what I think about sometimes, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been doing this for a long, long time, and it's come a long way. I mean, when I first started playing basketball, and we as a team would go get on the plane to come over here to the West Coast to play a team from California, it was a mess. You think my biggest pet peeve, I guess, now that I think about it, are the airlines. When ADA came in, they were supposed to make the aisles wider. They were supposed to revamp all of that. Now, all of that has just gone by the wayside. These young kids need to pick that up and make sure, because traveling is, for a new person, it's a scary situation, because most people are not advocates for themselves, and that's what you have to be.
Well, you bring up a really
yeah, I learned that really fast. I learned that really fast. My first long trip that I ever took from being in my chair, and I'm a power chair user. I went to Hawaii, and they put my chair on the wrong plane. And so I landed in Hawaii and my chair landed in San Francisco. And so it's like, wait a second, what? And so then it took them 2 days to reroute me a chair. So 2 of my 7-day vacation or whatever, 10-day vacation were gone because I didn't even have a chair. They didn't give me anything. They had to pull one of those ones that, like those 4XL wide chairs that they have at the hospitals. I had to be wheeled around in that for a day. Like it was brutal.
And they didn't reimburse you or anything?
No, they only reimburse you for breaking it if they break it, right? I mean, that's the airlines are a mess when it comes to this stuff. And then not to mention the fact of how embarrassing it is sometimes at the service that they give you and to help you get into a chair. So I need to be transferred into what they call an aisle chair, right? Anybody who's flown kind of knows what those are. But I need help transferring to that. I can't do that myself. So they have somebody grab you behind your arms and under your legs. Well, in the process of that, at one time, they pulled my pants halfway down my leg. So they set me in the seat and they go, all right, cool, later. I'm like, whoa, time out. You mean to tell me you want me to fly the rest of this flight with my pants all the way down? Like, how is that even? I had to make a big deal about it for somebody to come and fix it. Like just things like that. Like, it's just, I don't know. They make everybody wait, right? Like it just takes forever.
Everybody waits. I hate, and I travel a lot. I hate to be in the aisle seat. I'd rather bounce all the way across than having all these people that I don't know crossing over me, touching me. I mean, that is one of my pet peeves, the planes and the aisle chairs. I mean, the aisle chair is uncomfortable for me. I'm a fairly big guy, and I go through there. Half of me is not on the chair, and they're bumping my hips, and there's not much back there after 30 plus years in a chair, but skin and bones, and that could cause a problem immediately. There's a lot that could be changed, but there's a lot that we need. We just can't give up and say, okay, well, I've got enough now. And I think that's what a lot of young spinal cord injured folks are doing, is just, okay, so I've got all these chairs, I got wounded warriors, and we're going to play and do all of this stuff. But
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if the PVA closes down, I'm not saying it's in trouble of closing down, but a lot of the advocacy for spinal cord injury and research and stuff would come to a screeching halt. I believe that. I believe that with all my heart.
Yeah, I know the VA does. Now, is PVA connected to the VA? Because I know the VA does a lot of research.
Are we connected to the VA?
Yeah, as far as like the research and stuff like that goes, or you do that as an independent organization?
We work with them. I mean, they can't build a spinal cord clinic without us coming in there. We have design people that come in and design. They don't. So we have spinal cord clinics all over the country. As a matter of fact, here in Phoenix, we're serviced by 3 spinal cord wards at the San Diego VA, the New Mexico VA, and Long Beach. And those are strictly for spinal cord injuries, strictly.
Now I know there's a clinic, a spinal cord clinic, injury clinic in the Phoenix, downtown Phoenix one. It's
in all VAs, they have the clinics, but I mean spinal cord wards.
Oh, the wards where you go for rehabilitation.
Where we go for rehab and our annuals.
Yeah.
But everyone has clinics, and even the clinics. I mean, we had to fight for the clinic because they had the clinic in a small room, and we just told them that's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
You have signs all over the building talking about respect to patients' privacy. So how can you have people separated by curtains and give them privacy? It doesn't work like that. So
yeah,
those are the things we change. We have a relationship with the VA hospitals. Some of them like us and some don't. Those who are not complying with their rules, they don't like us because we call in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never really get anything done unless somebody doesn't like you, right?
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm here to do something, and we're going to do it one way or another.
Quick question.
So,
go ahead. Go ahead, Shawn.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask you about relationships and your marriage and stuff like that. Oh, okay. So we're on the same page here, Shawn. So, because that's such a big deal for our community, people are dealing with, not being able to find someone or someone who understands, or they're dealing with isolation where they just don't feel confident to go out into the world because they feel like they're going to be judged. I mean, it's a tough road.
This is my analogy for that. Okay. I was married twice. My first marriage, 6 years. And oh my God, I couldn't wait till it was over. But I did get a daughter out of that. And that's a good thing. But I met my present wife, and we've been married almost, I believe it might even be 25 years. Don't tell her I'm not sure, but I'm not sure. And it's just different. Number one of the things that you said is confidence. You just have to have confidence in yourself. And I hear a lot of people say, oh, I just feel everywhere I go, people are looking at you. Well, they are looking at you. Who cares? Do you really care? See,
look, that's a good thing. You ask me.
It is a good thing, because between my first wife and my second wife, I had absolutely no problem. I mean, it helped that I lived in DC and it was 8-1. So that helped a lot.
You played the odds, I see. That's smart. See, that's smart.
But also, like, somewhat of an understanding. That's also why my first wife, we didn't last, because when she married me, I was a team leader in the Army. I got hurt, and that was rough on her psyche. And I'm saying, huh, you walk every day. I don't walk. They're telling me that's done. And you're either going to help me or you're not. And I wasn't getting the help from her. Then my second wife, she worked for the National Council of Independent Living. So she actually was one of you guys' boss, or you guys not. So
Yeah.
the Independent Living Center. Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, I don't think Shawn has a boss. Do you, Shawn?
Hey, I like it in him. I don't either. Oh, well, I've got a co-boss.
You got
I'm
a
my own
co-boss.
boss, but I got a co-boss.
Yeah,
We
when you're talking to your wife, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's how it works. That's how it works.
That's how it works. That's
Yep,
how it
you're
works.
a team, and it works like that. Gordon, one of the things I hear from a lot of people who, are just becoming injured is they lose their relationships, their girlfriends, their wives, their, even support from their family. I mean, it's been brutal. And some people, they have, where they almost go back to being a child again, where they don't feel the need to move forward with their life. They're just like, okay, well, everyone just take care of me. And I mean, there's so many different dynamics that happen with having a disability, but right now, I guess I'm trying to focus on the relationship part. A lot of people have a hard time moving past that. And I mean, rightfully so. If you have your heart broken by the person you thought you're going to be with for the rest of your life, and have them walk out and be like, I can't deal with, okay, I know until death do we part, but this is that stipulation where we just got to part.
Yeah, I'm really, that's kind of the situation that I was in. And I just said, because I've got to live like this. You don't have to.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but I've got to go, because I'm not ready to leave this earth. So I'm not ready to shrivel up and die. And I spent 14 years saying, never quit, never give up. In the military, that was our saying: you never quit, you never give up.
Yep.
And so this happened, and I had no idea what to do, where to go, but I knew this. I wasn't ready to quit, nor was I ready to give up. And the PVA helped that. Again, you just got to get active, find something. I'm a firm believer. I wasn't, but I'm a firm believer there's someone out there for everyone.
Even Shawn? I mean, I'm just asking on that one.
I would think so. Hey,
I just lack of time, I'll tell you that much.
And tell you though, I hear all the time. My cousin tells me all the time. I told you I was in business with him for a while. He's the horse person. I was the money person, and I just make sure all those people paid him his money on time. But he said to me, I came out here to go to ASU on a football scholarship, and you know more about this area than I do. That's because you got to get out and stretch out, broaden your horizon. And a lot of people don't. It's that's that woe is me mentality.
Yeah, it's so easy.
A lot of people have. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think I'm on the same track as you. A lot of people go there with that, it's so easy to slip into that mode, especially, when your chips are down, and you don't feel like you have many options and your dreams have been crushed. I mean, it's a rough road. It's a rough road. And that woe is me. That's a deep hole to get out of. I mean, it is.
I don't want to say I can't relate, But
Well, some of your
I've
military
never-
training, though.
I've honestly never had that problem. I honestly haven't.
Yes.
And I'm knocking on wood. I'm sure my wife will say he's a pain. And I know I am, but that's me. It's been me for 67 years. It's not going to change. She's put up with it, and it is what it is.
I think like when you look at right now, especially, a lot of people are having hard times. It's not just the disabled community, but it's most of the United States are having very difficult times right now. And it can be even extra hard on people who have disabilities with, say, maybe your healthcare workers not being able to be there, or not being able to go out as much in public as you used to be able to go out, or not being able to like frequent the places that you're used to frequenting because you're worried and scared,
Eric, do you know Leonard Smith? He works.
Absolutely. Leonard Smith is a great guy. I did some of my internship with him, actually.
When I met Leonard Smith, he was an Air Force vet. He knew nothing about the PVA. I talked him into it because I was tired of being the president. I talked him into being our national director first because he wanted to learn more about the PVA. And so I was the national director, but I've been trying to retire for the last 5 years, and I'm still here. And but when you mention your aide not showing up, when you're a national director, I have nothing but respect for him because you travel back and forth to DC all the time. They have 3 meetings somewhere in the country 3 times a year. And a lot of times he would call me and say, my aide can't make it. I told him, I said, when you can't make it, I'll fill in for you. Under duress, but I'll fill in for you. And I have total respect for him because he rides public transportation. I hate public transportation, and he's on it all the time.
Yeah, and he's in a power chair too, right?
Yeah, he's in a power chair. Yep. And our executive director, Peter Quinn, who I talk about all the time, he's also in a power chair. And these guys never complain. And I don't know if I could do that.
They never complain, like ever complain? I mean,
sure. Do they complain to me? No. Now, they may complain to someone. He complained to me about his aide not showing up and me having to fill in for him for the last minute, but that's not complaining. That's what I told him I'd do if he took over the job full time when he couldn't make it.
That's just good social networking there too. It's, hey, here's my situation. Can you help me out? I mean, that's just social networking, really.
But so he's now our president, so he got into it. He got into it quite well.
Nice.
But,
I think that's one of the major differences in life between being a higher level quad than somebody who's a para or in those sort of thing is having to deal with that extra worry of an aide or a nurse or all these things that you have to actually add on top of not being able to work or not be able to walk and being in a chair and your life changing and all those different things. And it's been one of the more difficult things, I think, in my life, dealing with
I think too. The PVA, the VA, and being involved the way I was, I mean, as a service officer, to leave my office in DC and go out to West Virginia to the VA and see a colonel who taught high-level math at the Air Force Academy, who doesn't even know his name now. That's just
wow.
That's a tough pill. And the same thing with a lot of guys that I've seen. I mean, my basketball coach in Baltimore, he coached us, the Baltimore Ravens. He's lived all of his life with all of this shrunk down to almost nothing. but he was one of the best wheelchair basketball coaches I ever had. And so it's kind of like it's all about you. You know, it's
I
all
think
about you.
another thing too is the company you keep, right?
Mm.
I think one of the times or major breakthroughs in my life is when I finally decided that I would surround myself with people who have disabilities as well. I think in the very beginning, almost everybody I was around was an able-bodied person. And then when I finally made the conscious effort to be like, hey, you know what? Like, I need to put myself in around other people to see, one, what is possible, two, if I'm missing something, and three, like, to be able to get that positive energy off of people on days where you might not have it. And I think that makes
I
a big
mean, I don't know. A lot of people may think that helps them by being around a lot of people that are able-bodied and not associating with those that are in chairs. But are you really doing yourself a service or a disservice? I think you're doing a disservice because you're not truly learning how to deal with your situation. What you're doing is masking it and pretending. And you can't pretend when you sit in these chairs. This is real. This
Yeah.
is real. And the best thing, that's why I'm an advocate of sports, because for instance, I went through rehab, and when they showed me how to catheterize myself, they made it like a surgical procedure. And I'm thinking, oh my God,
Yeah.
every time we go out of town, I got to bring an extra bag for catheters and all of this stuff. And then by playing basketball, you see these guys and you learn
Yep.
it's just not true.
Nope. It's
It's
quick and
not
dirty.
true.
It's quick and dirty. It's quick and
It's
dirty.
not-
That's how it is.
you know, and knock on wood, I've never had a UTI outside of the hospital. I've had 3, and each time I was in the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sucks right
That's
out
an
loud.
accomplishment right there. I'll tell you that much. Jeez.
Yeah, that you can go UTI free. One of the things I got to completely agree with you. So growing up, I've had my disability all my life. And so I did not grow up around people who were in wheelchairs. I grew up in the country in Minnesota, and I was like this oddity this guy was in a wheelchair. And boy, it wasn't
Now it
until
all makes sense.
yeah, right. I know, right? I know.
Say what?
He's saying now it all makes and then when I got to college, I started meeting people in chairs, and then I started playing wheelchair basketball. And it was at that point I was like, holy moly. Then I started relating in a whole different spectrum to people. And when I finally got here to Arizona and became a part of the community here, that's when I started really to drop my guard a little more and to realize that, wow, there's so many similarities going on here. I got a lot to learn from these people. And there's a lot of common relations that are happening. There's a lot of ways, well, except for Shawn. I cannot relate to that guy at all. He is an anomaly, but that's beside the point.
Hey, Shawn, you asked me earlier, and I'm going to tell you what I thought was one of my better achievements while I was involved with the PVA. I was also on the board back in Boston of a disabled diving group called the Moray Wheels, and
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that. That's awesome.
and we trained and taught people to dive at MIT. One of the board members was a professor at MIT, and that was her thesis, was whether or not folks with disability could scuba dive with the compressed air.
Right?
Yeah. And so we
Were
went
you
to
the guinea
war.
pig?
Say again?
Were you the guinea pig for this?
No.
Oh, Okay.
Well, I guess kind of was. I guess we all kind of.
They're like, we don't know if this is going to work, but let's set them down there anyways.
Hey, well, I've done a whole lot of stuff that we weren't sure how it was going to work. So,
right.
what the hell? It's like I said, it's something new. But anyway, we had a guy, and I think he was C3, C4, and they kept telling, everyone would tell him, you can't dive, you can't dive. And the president of our organization said to him, well, we're going to Bonaire, and if you come out there, we will get you in the water. And to see the look on his face, we're only in 35 feet of water, but we swam around, and it was 5 of us holding him, and the look on his face when we came back up, that was golden.
Yeah. The amount of freedom that a person can feel in the water is just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, especially after other groups. We went to war with PADI. There's 2 organizations that certify divers, NAUI and PADI. At first, PADI would not certify persons with disability. And we went to war with them, and now they do. But I would never send anyone to PADI. It's the same. It's just they should not have had to go to court to make them do the right thing. But there's so many things out there, and the only way you're going to learn is to get out there. You only deprive yourself sitting back doing nothing.
I know that for a fact. I mean, I think I've learned more from the mistakes and the dumb shit that I've done in a chair than I would have ever learned staying at home and doing nothing, right?
There you go.
Granted, I got scars and stitches to show for it, but what are you gonna do, right?
Tell me about it.
Gordon, what's the deepest you've gone in scuba diving? I'm just curious because, like, I've gone snorkeling, but that's nothing compared to scuba diving, where it just gets dark and you're just going down.
Well, see,
you know,
I don't fool around where it gets dark. I've been down 156 feet. That's the deepest I've ever gone.
That's
but
a
I can
long
still
ways.
see the bottom of the boat.
Oh wow!
There's only been 2 places I dove off the coast of Maine in the wintertime. And
wasn't that cold?
No, because we used those wetsuits.
Okay.
We were in our regular cities, and we put on that and went down, and it was fantastic. My brother that lives in Atlanta, he's a diver too. We're planning to go back to Bonaire. Bonaire is a wonderful place. But diving, I suggest diving for everyone. The freedom, like you said, is just unbelievable.
That's something I've been interested in trying at some point in my life.
We've been trying to get the VA and to start one out here. They're not seeing the benefit of it, and it's not the benefit; it's the money that they're talking about. But
yeah,
we're not going to quit on that. I think it's fantastic.
There was a program that would come to Ability 360. I forget what the name of the program is, but they used to train people it was a scuba diving program where you would scuba dive in the pool, and then one of the last ones, they'd take a trip down to Rocky Point and go scuba diving.
Certification, yeah, that's all diving. Take that back. That's all civilian diving. In the military, it's a different story. But here you do basic class work, and then you do your early stages are done in a regular pool. But most places, like I went to Bonaire to finish off my certification. They said, "Oh, you want to go off the harbor?" No, it's cold and it's dark. I don't want to do that. I want to go somewhere where it's warm and wonderful. And like I said, 156 feet, and I could still see the bottom of the boat.
That's pretty cool.
Diving for me. Now, I have dove over these cliffs, and I turned around real quick because not like jumping out of a plane. I don't know where the hell that's going to land, if it's going to land, and is my air going to last? Hell no.
Yeah, that I see. If I came up like, you know, a canyon under the water, man, my imagination. I play too many video games, and my imagination would be like, "There's a monster down there. I'm not doing it."
We don't know what's down there. I was watching a program. We don't know what's down there.
Oh, you're about to scare me,
life
aren't you?
down there, but it's just too dark.
Yeah.
In certain places, they have what they call these walls, and all the color on them, the fish. It's just beautiful. But
Mhm.
no. I look over and I can't really see the ground. I'm not interested. Not interested. 156.
Well,
So that
hey,
write that in there.
I'm interested
That's
in. I'm interested in one last factoid about yourself is that you are a Rastafarian. Is this correct?
Yeah, you got to tell me what that means.
That means that we believe that there's a higher power. We don't call that higher power God. That's what you said earlier. We call it Jah. Jah, yes. That's about it. I grew up with a Jamaican dude, full out Rastafarian, and surprisingly, he went into the military. He's 2 years older than me. He went in. We went to the same bases, the same basic training. He was a military policeman, and we ended up living on the same street of each other. And he's one of the few guys that I knew before I was injured that didn't get all weirded out by the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
cool.
That's it. I mean, it's no big deal. Like the song says, you know, you don't have to be dreadlocked to be Rasta.
It's mostly about a peace and unity,
Spiritual.
love, and with the earth, unity with the earth, and all those kind of
You
things.
have to listen. You have to really listen to the music, and that's pretty much all they talk about. That's pretty much all they talk about.
And
Earth.
smoking ganja.
Say again.
And smoking ganja.
Well, hey, to each his own. As long as you stay productive, go for it.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's a cool thing. Like, I don't know if I've ever actually sat and had a conversation with a Rastafarian before about that stuff.
Likewise.
I'd like to one day with you because I've spoken to almost every other religion that there is, and I'm very interested in those kind of things. So maybe someday we'll get together and we'll have a conversation about it.
Make that happen. That's easy. We both live in the Phoenix area.
That's right. And I'll be back at Ability 360 here soon once I get over my fear of these rabid Ronas out here.
I can't tell you how much.
I'm just tired of being in the house. My wife yesterday, she came and she says, you know, the state of Hawaii will pay round trip tickets for us to go there if we agree to stay for 30 days. And she can work from anywhere, and she's the boss. So, and I was like, no, if I'm going to go somewhere right now and stay for 30 days, I want to go to Aruba.
Well, I mean, choices, right? I mean, Hawaii, Aruba, I mean, they both sound just horrible.
Yeah, they do. I'm telling you. Aruba's only 7 miles wide. I mean, 7 miles wide and 27 miles long. It's
isn't that just quarantine right there? I mean, if you're in Aruba, you're quarantined pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a wonderful, one happy island.
It is. It's more affordable too, right? I mean, it's a more affordable place to go and stay for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in my.
And it's owned by the Dutch. In all my travels, I found that the Dutch really take care of their people.
Good to know.
If only we could learn, huh? If only we could just listen and learn.
There we go. I mean, I cut my wrist really bad on a piece of coral. I'm swimming and I see the blood and I'm getting nervous. And I go to the doctor, emergency room. Not one dime did I have to spend, and saw doctors, x-rays, stitches, the whole works. and shots, the whole works. And when I did finally get a bill at home, $65.
Wow.
Can't beat it.
No.
And I had a buddy that on the island of Bonaire, and he was a Dutch citizen. They're Dutch citizens, and he got sick, and they couldn't take care of him on the island. They flew him and a family member and put them up in Amsterdam until he got well enough to come back home. And
Dang.
if they can do that in places like that, you tell me why we can't do that here.
Yeah,
We got
we're a pay to
idiots.
play nation, you know.
Absolutely. It's all about the money.
We're a rich get richer and poor stay poorer nation is what we are.
That's
Yeah.
the way it is.
Yeah.
It's the way it's been, and it's not going to change.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I'll tell you
So-
what, I know we're running short on time. Eric, you got any last things you want to put out there or ask them or?
No, Gordon, no, you know what? You were a wonderful guest and I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate that you were willing to come here and speak with us and have a conversation about this and inform the world about PVA a little more and your life. So thank you.
And remember, PVA.org, or if you want to donate to the Arizona chapter, it's azpva.org. That will come directly to us. We had to change our logo and our names because Speedy got outdated. Speedy was riding in a wheelchair, big wheels in the back and small in the front, and smoking a pipe. So we had to be politically correct. Hey, I enjoyed. I'd like to come back and maybe on one of my adventures, and Sage Travel, look them up. We had them. They met us in Barcelona at the airport. They brought us to our hotel when it was time for us to go to the port. They had someone there. In Rome, they had a guy to drive us, a really nice, accessible van that would hold you. And it's all planned out. And it's a company owned by a paraplegic. So my only problem is they don't go to South America and Africa.
That would though the flight would be excruciating to Africa for me. I know that would be excruciating.
You know, I thought the same thing when I flew over to Barcelona, but look up Norwegian airline, not the cruise people. By the way, they're my favorite people to cruise with, but Norwegian airline. We went over there and we flew first class, both of us, for the price of first class on another airline would have cost for one. And big
when I've been over
seats.
to, when I go to Europe, I always fly, I always get the lay down sleeper ones.
Yep.
Like those are it's just a lot easier to handle and manage that 14, 16 hours of being able to turn from one side to the other, you know.
I was dreading it, but it was actually very pleasant. You know, I got to the Coliseum as a gladiator. You know, you want to see the Coliseum where the real gladiators fought.
Right.
And the Leaning Tower of Pisa. That was great. But anyway, again, I appreciate it. Nice meeting you, Shawn. We'll talk again for sure.
And again, everybody, it's Gordon Moye, and that is pva.org, or
that's where our national headquarters is pva.org. And we put out a magazine called the Paraplegic News and Sports and Spokes. Paraplegic News, I'm going to get copies sent down to you guys. And
nice.
Everything that we do is in that. And if you want to donate to the chapter, it's azpva.org.
Okay.
And
ladies
again,
and gentlemen, the great, the powerful Gordon Moye.
Thank you. I'm just Gordon Moye.
Hey, man.
All right,
keep doing what
guys. I
you're doing.
enjoyed it. Have me
Really
back.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
And for that, Podriplegics. Peace.
Peace.